Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Emil and today we're gonna need these slippers for adults. What you're gonna need to make these slippers is about 80 grams of this Aran yarn, recommended for 5 to 6 millimeter knitting needles, and we're gonna use the 6 millimeter knitting needles, sewing needle, scissors, and 2 place markers. Before we start, you have to know that the slippers have 38 to 40 European size, which is 7.5 to 9 US. So let's get started. Well, let's get started casting on 22 stitches, and we're gonna cast on the stitches just the way we normally do it. So we're gonna start with the slip knot, and then we're gonna continue with the casting on until we have 22 stitches. Well, once we have 22 stitches, what we're gonna do is place the markers, and for the first one we're gonna count 10 stitches from the right to the left. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 stitches. And for the second place marker, we're gonna count 10 stitches again from the left to the right. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 stitches, and we're gonna place the second one. And if everything is going fine, in the middle we should have 2 stitches. So we're gonna continue with 12 rows, increasing 12 stitches. So we're gonna have 2 increases on the right side, and on the wrong side we're not going to do any increase. So let's start with the first row, and we're gonna knit the very first stitch, but you have to know that the first stitch, border stitch, we don't work it anymore. And then we're gonna continue knitting all the stitches till the first place marker. We go to the first place marker and we pass the first place marker to the right hand needle. Then we're gonna make the first increase, which is just twist the yarn and grab it with the right hand needle. And then what we're gonna do is knit 2 stitches, 1 and 2, which are just the stitches of the middle between the first and the second place mark. Then we're gonna continue with the second increase, which is again twist the yarn and grab it with the right hand needle. Then we're gonna pass the place marker to the right hand needle, and we're gonna continue knitting all the stitches till the end of the row. This is the first row, and we're gonna knit all the stitches till the end of the row. Then what we're gonna do is turn our work, and we're gonna continue with the second row. So the second row is the wrong side, and we're gonna continue with the first stitch, slip stitch. As I told you, the first stitch we don't work it anymore, it doesn't matter what side you are working. And then we're gonna continue working all the stitches, knitting all the stitches till the end of the row, without any increases, any decreases, just knitting straight till the end of the row. Pass the place marker and knit the stitches between the 2 place markers, pass the second place marker and knit till the end of the row. So these 2 rows we are going to repeat for 6 times until we have 12 rows and 12 increases. So let's continue with them. Well, this is how it looks like after the 12 rows, and if everything is going okay, we should have increased 12 stitches. So we're gonna have 14 stitches between these 2 place markers, which we are going to remove. We are not going to need these two place markers anymore. So we're gonna remove them, and you have to know that this part is the heel of the foot. And now what you're gonna do is continue working straight. What it means that we're gonna work 18 rows, we're gonna knit 18 rows straight without any increases or any decreases. So let's continue with 18 rows. Once we've done these 18 rows, we're gonna have 30 rows total, and there are 34 stitches. What you're gonna do now is continue decreasing, and we're gonna decrease 1 stitch after the first stitch, and one before the last stitch, and that's only on the right side. On the wrong side we are not going to decrease any stitches, and we're gonna continue until we decrease 26 stitches total. So let's get started. So to decrease the first stitch, what we're gonna do is first slip the first stitch, the border stitch, and then what we're gonna do is knit two together. So we're gonna introduce into these two stitches and we're gonna knit them together. This is our first decrease, and then we're gonna continue knitting all the stitches until the three penultimate stitches where we're gonna do the second decrease. Well, I'm going to the three last stitches of the row, and what we're gonna do is again the same decrease, which is knit two together. So we're gonna introduce into these two stitches and we're gonna knit them together. This is our second decrease, and last stitch, knit stitch, border stitch. And let's continue with the wrong side where we are not going to do any decreases. So what we're gonna do is slip the very first stitch again and continue knitting all the way around all the stitches till the end of the row. We're gonna knit, so this is our second row, and we're gonna continue until we have only 8 stitches left. So we're gonna decrease 26 stitches total. Well, I already have only 8 stitches, and what we're gonna do now is continue again increasing, and we're gonna increase one after the first stitch and one before the last stitch, and we're gonna do it again only on the right side, and we're gonna do it for 8 rows in total. So we're gonna increase 8 stitches in 8 rows. So let's continue with it, and we're gonna continue with the very first stitch, slip stitch as always, border stitch, and then we're gonna continue with the first increase, which is again just twist the yarn and grab it with the right hand needle, and then we're gonna continue again knitting until the last stitch. So we have the same increases as the first part of the slipper, but we do it before the last stitch and after the first stitch. Here we have the last stitch, and we're gonna do the same increase, just twist the yarn so it makes this small loop and grab it with the right hand needle and knit last one. This is the first row. We're gonna turn our work and continue with the second row where we don't do any increases. So we're gonna slip the very first stitch again and continue knitting all the way around. So we're gonna continue repeating these 2 rows 4 times total until we have 16 stitches. Well, here I already have increased these 8 stitches, and I have 16 stitches, and we're gonna work them straight for 10 rows, which means there are no increases, no decreases for 10 rows, just knitting all the way around for 10 rows. Well, here we are about to over our slippers, and what we're gonna do for last is just decrease 8 stitches in 8 rows. So we're gonna decrease 2 stitches each time we work the right side, and the wrong side we are just going to work straight, knitting all stitches. So we're gonna start first slip with slip stitch, the very first stitch, and then we're gonna knit 2 together for our first decrease, and then we're gonna continue knitting all stitches until the last 3 stitches where we're gonna do the second decrease. So the second decrease will be again knitting 2 together, knit 2 together, and then the last stitch, knit stitch, and this is the first row. Let's continue with the second row, which is gonna be straight working. So we're gonna slip the very first stitch, border stitch, and then we're gonna continue knit all the way around till the end of the row. So this is our second row, and we're gonna continue until we have 8 rows decreasing or just 8 stitches left. Here we are with 8 stitches, and what we're gonna do finally is bind off the stitches. So what we're gonna do for it is first stitch, slip stitch. Then what we're gonna do is wrap the right hand needle, wrap it with the yarn. Then we're gonna knit next one, and what we're gonna do is the 2 previous stitches pass over the last one. So we're gonna grab with the left hand needle, pass over, and next one as well, grab it and pass over. Then we're gonna do the same, wrap the right hand needle, then knit next one, then the 2 previous stitches we're gonna pass over the last one. Again, wrap the right hand needle, knit one, and then the 2 previous stitches we're gonna pass over the last one. This is how we're gonna bind off all the stitches. Once we bind off all the stitches, we're gonna cut the tail, don't leave too long, and we're gonna just pull the stitch until we get out the tail. Well, let's continue sewing the slipper, and what we're gonna do is work the wrong side of the slipper. So we're gonna turn our work, and we're gonna knit one new tail to start with the sewing part. So what we're gonna do first is work these 2 stitches here in the middle of the slipper. We're gonna pass here the yarn, and then what we're gonna do is pass each stitch we have just behind the border. This is the border stitch, and just behind the border we have another stitch which is like a bar, vertical, and then we're gonna pass there the yarn, and then we're gonna search for the next border stitch on the other side, and we're gonna pass here the yarn as well. Then we're gonna pass here next stitch, then again we're gonna pass the stitch here, again on this side, we go again to the opposite side, and this is how we're gonna continue until we finish all the stitches on both sides, or I mean, like, we have to go to this border. So let's continue with it, and just every few stitches you have to pull the yarn to close it. So let's continue with it. One on this side, another one on this side, one on this side, again going to the opposite side, and we go like this until we finish to the border. Then we're gonna pull the yarn, and if you see, this is how it looks like. The same way we have to sew the opposite part of the slipper, and then we're gonna continue with the heel. To sew the heel, we're gonna use the tail we left casting on the stitches, and here it's very easy. We're just gonna pass each border on each side, each border stitch on each side. Very easy, just wrapping the stitches until the end of the border, until the end of the heel. And this is how they look like. I hope you really like it, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to do it in the comments below, and please don't forget to subscribe and follow me on my Instagram and Facebook. Bye!